We're glad to see you once again. Let's study General's Cry Earthshatter Berserker. General's Cry is a very specific war cry. After using it, you summon 5 Mirage warriors that perform an attack linked to this skill gem. These are not minions, it's an extension of your own attack and is treated as such, just like Mirage archers. There are however some differences we will mention later. Each Earthshatter, besides dealing its initial damage, creates 5 fissures near you. These fissures summon spikes that can be detonated by using slam attack or warcry, which is the case here. The warcry itself has a very low cooldown, it can be used every 1.7 or so seconds. To generate more rage, pick Crave the Slaughter and Rite of Ruin. This maneuver will significantly upgrade your damage, as will the aspect of Carnage Keystone. The build can use any weapon, it's even suited for unarmed combat with facebreakers. We've settled on a powerful rare 2-hand warstaff. Berserker has Warbringer Keystone, granting rage after performing a warcry, and upgrades your exerted attacks. Note that Mirage warriors can't exert their own attacks, but the spikes detonated by you using your warcry are counted as your hits, so exertion will apply to them, but not the initial impact. The cycle of summoning warriors and using warcry is a feedback loop. You generate Mirage warriors, which set up multiple spikes, and these are then detonated with the same ability that summons the next batch of Mirages. The damage of each spike can hit the same enemy for a shotgun effect. Defenses are very basic. The build relies mostly on its high maximum life pool, armor rating, and life leech. You can also invest more into block chance. No matter if you're using staves or a shield, the passives for both are easily accessible. Evasion and spell suppression can be added to the mix too. It deals damage with a short delay, but the area of effect is substantial. You're also limited by Cyclone's reduced movement speed. Single target damage is very good but erratic, depending on where your spikes are set up. It can, however, be really good. The initial price of the build is low, but it grows over time as almost all of your items are of rare quality, which leaves a lot of room for upgrades. The build uses mostly rare items, they're just better in most cases, just with a few exceptions. It makes this build perfectly suited for a solo self-found mode. We've used Owl's Uprising to have one aura that would otherwise reserve 50% of maximum mana for free. Use Abyssus if you don't mind dying. It lowers your survivability but adds a lot of physical damage. It's good with a lot of armor and critical strike chance. If lack of maximum life or elemental resistances is not a big deal, then the Brass Dome is definitely a body armor to consider. Maximum elemental resistances are hard to come by, but extremely useful. Rislatha's Coil Belt is one of the best accessories to improve your damage. We heavily recommend one with some good rolls. Owl's Uprising can completely negate the reservation cost for the most expensive auras, namely Pride or Determination. It grants a lot of maximum life and some attributes. Some of the upgrades for the notable passives from Lethal Pride can be very useful. It also grants more strength. We've put one between Vigor and Savagery. Flawless Savagery and Unbreakable are both very good keystones you can access via pair of Forbidden Jewels. The former is offensively oriented, and the latter provides more defenses. You're using Pride, Precision, and Determination. Pride's additional impales are the best modifier you can gain from a Watcher's Eye, but any other Pride modifier is decent. The same goes for Precision and Determination. Try to aim for a lot of resistances of all kinds, maximum life, and some armor. Attack skills are usually very cheap, but you can still lower your dependency on mana by lowering mana cost of skills by ring or body armor modifiers. It's a crit build, so you might want to invest in critical strike chance, but most likely won't reach 100% critical strike chance anyway. Look for added and increased damage with attacks, only the physical kind. Use a helmet for life, resistances, and accuracy. You can also aim for some rare modifiers to, for example, make nearby enemies take increased physical damage. We've used a warstaff. It's one of the best bases for a weapon, but you can use swords or axes if you happen to find a very good one. It would require you to rearrange some of your skill points. Aim for over 500 physical DPS and some critical strike modifiers. Body armor can be a source of multiple defensive stats, but it can additionally reduce the mana cost of socketed attacks, or allow you to apply an additional curse. Life, resistances, and movement speed are all mandatory modifiers to be found on your boots, but you might find a source of elusive, tailwind, or onslaught buffs too. Gloves are often abundant with a lot of useful modifiers for attack builds, such as added damage, increased melee damage, or accuracy rating. A rare belt is used for maximum life and resistances. There's not much more to gain here. Pick a Stygian Vice or a leather belt. You can use Amulet for an additional maximum life, elemental resistances, attributes, added damage, accuracy, and reduced mana cost of skills. Rings are another piece of jewelry you shall use for maximum life, resistances, and many other modifiers which are also found on an amulet. The distinctive mod you should seek on one of your rings is the vulnerability curse on hit. Use jewels to fix your resistances, attributes, and accuracy. If that's done, seek maximum life, increased damage, and critical strike modifiers. There are tons of very useful notables you can find on a large cluster jewel. You might even want to use 2 of them, but 1 is good enough for a start. We recommend the Warcry related medium cluster jewels. You can use the to gain onslaught, generate charges, and other utilities. There are 2 very good unique flasks worth looking for. Lion's Roar grants you more armor and melee physical damage. Your attacks knock enemies back on hit, which might be a bit annoying. Bottled Faith is a big boost to your damage, critical strike chance, and it creates consecrated ground for life regeneration and reduced effective curses. For magic flasks, you can pick a life one for instant life recovery on use, a Quicksilver flask for better mobility, a Basalt flask for increased armor, or a Diamond flask for an increased critical strike chance. These should remove bleeding or freeze on use, and increase your critical strike chance and armor. Earthshatter is a slam attack that deals initial impact damage and creates spikes, later detonated with General's Cry. This attack can be used only via this specific warcry. It consumes up to 5 corpses to summon them as Mirage Warriors and perform the linked attack skill. Link it with Impale, Pulverize, Brutality, and melee physical damage support gems. Cyclone is used only to spawn corpses via Desecrate. It's a channeling attack that allows you to move around, very convenient. Desecrate spawns corpses, later to be used as ammunition for General's Cry. Link these 2 with Cast while channeling to cast Desecrate while channeling Cyclone. Maim support can be linked too. It makes you deal more damage to maimed targets. Don't use it if you're already using Flesh and Stone's Bloodstance. Instead, you can link it with Infused Channeling to take less physical damage. The buff from Ancestral Warchief Totem grants you more melee damage. The buff from Ancestral Protector Totem grants you more attack speed. Use the Phantasmal version for an increased buff effect. Link these with multiple totems support to place both kinds of totems at the same time. Enemies within Pride's AoE receive more physical damage. This effect is doubled after 4 seconds of continuous exposure. Flesh and Stone in Bloodstance makes nearby enemies maimed, making them take more physical damage. Sand Stance blind enemies and reduces the damage you take from them. Herald of Purity is used only for the buff for more physical damage. Enlighten support increases the mana reservation efficiency for linked skills. If your other skills reserve more mana, switch them, or include them here, as you're not limited to only 1/6 link setup. Precision grants you an additional accuracy rating and increases your critical strike chance. Both are very useful. Determination can be used for more armor. This aura, or pride, can be cast for free with a specific version of Owl's Uprising Amulet. Dread Banner increases the chance to impale and its effectiveness, and reduces the accuracy rating of nearby enemies. Leap Slam is a simple yet effective movement attack you can use to jump forward. Link it with faster attacks support to move even faster. Berserk slowly consumes your rage and instantly grants you very powerful bonuses to damage and survivability alike. Blood Rage slowly drains your life and in return provides more attack speed and life leech. Link these 2 with enhanced support if you have one, to increase their effectiveness. Molten Shell absorbs a portion of incoming damage for a short time. It scales up with your armor. Vulnerability is the best curse for this build. Cursed enemies take increased physical damage. If your critical strike chance is high, it can be replaced with Assassin's Mark. As you're tasked to deal with the bandits, kill all of them. The 2 extra passive skill points are much better than any other upgrade offered. For your major god, you can choose pretty much any of them, as each one has its own situational merits. We've picked Brine King for freeze immunity and to prevent consecutive stuns. Minor gods offer some great protection against ailments and damage over time, which is especially dangerous and prevalent in today's maps. Soul of Abarath will definitely be of use. Here on the passive skill tree, we tried to extract as much physical damage as possible while also gathering the defensive features, mostly maximum life and armor. We've allocated 2 Warcry clusters mostly for the cooldown recovery rate, mana reservation efficiency, some extra accuracy, and critical strike nodes for attacks and while wielding a staff. The most important keystone is Call to Arms. Iron Reflexes is good too as it grants a bit of extra armor. For masteries, pick the ones for extra maximum life as your life masteries, critical strike multiplier against unique enemies as critical mastery, chance to impale as physical mastery, and life recovery on Warcry use as Warcry mastery. What you might also find useful is the increased reservation efficiency for stance skills, precision, or determination. That is all for this guide. We would be happy to see you like the video or subscribe to the channel for more Path of Exile content. Stay safe.